Hello everyone, System Chalk here with the 65th episode of our first YouTube run through Book of Hours, and it is hard to believe that it is already December, but here we are. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you are looking forward to whatever holidays you may have, or the just an enjoyment of the season in general. But I did want to mention briefly that Weather Factory are doing an advent calendar for Book of Hours. I get the impression that a lot of the people who watch this channel are already very big fans of Weather Factory, and so this may not be news to anyone, but if you have this game, I'm not 100% sure what they are going to be making available. I think they have said that there are going to be in-game as well as real-life rewards, and the official word from the update is that if you log in at any point in December, you get all of the things. Now, what that means, I don't know, because right now we're recording this. I'm recording this. You're watching, but I'm recording this essentially on the second day that it'll be the third day, but I don't believe it's noon in the UK yet. So, in this case here, essentially we've seen the Hush House decorations. Those will arrive in winter, and there was also a gift. Now, I figure some of the fun of this is going to be finding out what these items are, so you can either head over to the Weather Factory site for yourself, or you can, play the game and see what's going on. And if you don't like the seasonal items, I think that's under More. This is what this tab that I was a little confused about is about. But it also gives me a chance to maybe encourage a few of you. I'm doing this. I've obviously been given a copy of the game for promotional purposes from Weather Factory, although I think a number of you have kind of figured out I may actually like this game. But it's actually not a bad idea to either pick up the game yourself or possibly give it as a gift, because if the condition for the seasonal stuff is that you only play the game once this month, well, all of a sudden you have a few opportunities in order to get. I guess it's not a few opportunities. You have 31 opportunities to get a few little extra things inside of the game. So hopefully that will bring some delight. Anyways, there's a little more time spent on that than I had intended. I'm actually a bit lost in terms of what I wanted to do today. I can remember my other playthrough reasonably well. If memory serves, we started on Illupli's Nook, Christopher's Nook. And I think we may have taken a look at one of Brian Levinson's prefigures, but I believe we have the rest of the Nook to explore. I also seem to recall putting some effort into looking at what would be available for different characters in terms of just being able to, to get them to do some work for me. And I mean that would make sense in the sense of getting the stairs and such. I am a little curious. I did see a note for myself about an old moment. Okay, so I'm talking with Mr. Kill. That must mean that I wanted to get him to open something up. Okay, so I've got enough to go on now. I'm kind of glad to do this review. I know part of it's frustrating for those of you that probably, that mainline the broadcasts, just because it's pretty obvious what needs to be done. But if we are trying to level up Mr. Kill, so we've got Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip, add something to enhance Mr. Kill's effectiveness for the day, or just talk. Unlike some assistants, Mr. Kill can make use of wood. So we are currently trying to generate a memory from him. Now, we are already paying to get an element of the soul back from the sweet bones. I suppose the bigger question would be, what would I do with the element of the soul if I wind up getting the relevant memory? So that's an open question. And then anything else, it looks like I just need a whist and Solomon's preparation. So I think what I will do now, I'll give him the whist and I'll give him the Solomon's preparation, and then maybe maybe it's just a question of waiting. You know, as long as I'm able to talk with him, sorry, as long as I have the memory and time to talk with him, I should be fine. Oh yes, sorry, I'm remembering now. So I got the foresight from the incandescent tantra when in fact I was looking for the hindsight from these. Fair enough. All right, I think I have what I need to move ahead, and let's get going. I rather suspect we will not be seeing winter for a while, so apologies. I won't have the I won't have some of the fancy stuff to show you. Okay, regret works too. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. So this means I can either use it, I can either, well, I mean, so one thing I could do is just not pay my bill and not get the refreshment. I can use this to make some money if I want. It would be nice to come up with a better use for it, so I suspect we'll probably open up the contraband flotsam. And it looks like we've read a book. So, oh yes, letters to my successor. This was an interesting one. So, advice from Gervenius van Loren, 11th librarian of Hush House, to the one who will come after him. Some of the advice is practical. Don't worry about losing the house key. Always Some of the advice is practical. Don't worry about losing the house key. Always close the seaward windows. Make sure you feed the cockatoo. Much more of it is rarefied, especially about the inks of revelation, and some of it relates to Van Loren's own doom. When I was another, I made a foolish wager with the hooded princes to solve 7 riddles. I had not realized the riddles would be set for me by the one I would become. 6 are resolved. The 7th will be the end of me. It waits now in the cellar of the jail, where Collars still believes he can keep it confined, but the first riddle told me I would not see the second dawn. So, bits of information here. I suppose it's not obvious yet. If you read the description, Broken Bridge, the jail bridge still stands, but charred and twisted, it groans dangerously in the wind. A fire, then. But what fire does this? It's as if someone had trailed a match flame along a bridge of wax. On the far side, the gate stands wide. When the bridge is repaired, I can enter the jail. So this suggests something sort of in this lower area here will be related to... well, it's related to what we found here, and presumably Van Loren's doom. And probably Collars too. Okay, so we used Glazier and Lightsmithing. We've got 2 of Inks of Revelation to work with, and we got a Revelation for that. So let's start by adding to the Revelation pile, if I can remember where that is. There's my Faust back. And do I have... yeah, I've got my... I believe it's my Shapt I'm getting back. Okay, so it would be nice if I could somehow level up... oh, right. I have quite a few improvements ahead of me then. Okay, well, with that in mind, resurgences and emergences. So I needed the 3, and I guess I already have that. Wow. I potentially set myself up for some real disappointments if I didn't check things out carefully. Okay. Well, I definitely have my work cut out for me in terms of elements of the soul. I am actually a little surprised then that I brought back the Shapt, given that it's not related to resurgences and emergences. But I can still make that work. A little bit of a shame about the... yeah, the Faust is, or the Shapt just isn't at all relevant to any of the things that I need here. Okay. We'll do our best. I definitely want the resurgences and emergences, and then I'll see how close I can get to getting Inks of Revelation back, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made the difference for the day. Okay, so we give Whist to Mr. Kill. We'll watch for what lies ahead. Now, one of the reasons why I like doing it in this order is that the Solomon's Preparation is a consumable. So all I've really lost at this point is time. But if I if I give him Solomon's preparation and I'm not able to move up to the stopped clock, then essentially I'm down the Solomon's preparation. I need to put all the effort into bringing that back. So that's kind of the reason I'm doing it in this particular order. So we've got the Shat back. Let's bring Trist in. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. I think... I'm trying to think what I want to do with the shaft here. So I'll have one more minute to bring back an element of the soul. So let me just take a minute to work this out. So we'll say resurgences and emergences. For that, we will put together the beguiling melody, well, definitely the clouds. So beguiling melody, impulse, and the clouds. And in fact, let's see also. So I need lantern and moth. So technically that impulse can be used. And then I also need to remember that I am in the violet chamber now, so I can actually preserve this impulse. So if we use resurgences and emergences with a beguiling melody, clouds, and gossip, we can level that up. And then I have an impulse left over for Inks of Revelation. Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Okay. So then with Inks of Revelation, I would be able to bring back a Faust. I'd have 2 there. In fact, I'd also be able to preserve either the impulse or the stolen secret. Most likely the impulse would be the more appropriate one. Although I guess if I'm using, lantern. Yeah, so we'll hang on to the impulse. Okay, so we'll sort that out there. We'll also move the game will actually do a numbered ordering for you if you want, but old habits die hard, so. So we're eventually going to be at position 4. Okay, so it's pretty clear that I want the Faust after I get the Trist back. I'm going to want the... So this is for the Trist, this is for the Faust. I don't have anything else that I can do, so at this point, the sensible thing to do with the shaft would be to open the package. Or investigate an object, but in this case, the memory is not going to be as useful for me, so investigate. Add a soul card. Something shipwrecked. What ship lost this? I'm actually getting quite excited about some of the things I'll get to show you. It'll still take a while. And remember, we still have a number of different tasks that I want to do. So for instance, we've got all of these different books that I would like to decontaminate. I would still like to sort of take care of the earlier parts of the house before we go to the jail, but what's kind of neat here, it's almost like we've set aside that initial mystery of what happened to the house and what the fire was about. And we're being given not just a reminder about the fire. In the earlier parts of the house, it sort of says to you, oh, by the way, wasn't there a sign of fire? You can kind of see this is a really specific line that's intended to draw your attention back to that early mystery. And in this case here, it's very clearly said, not only are there signs of fire, but this is very obviously unnatural. Like this is the thing you were looking for, essentially. So I'm interested. Oh dear. So all of my clever plans about preserving memories have just gone out the window because we're making an old moment, and I know old moments don't last. Ah well. My assistant and I will be prudent. Alright, let's have a chat about, or a drink rather. Solomon's preparation. Solomon Husher would take this every night without fail before sleep to close his ears to the sound of the waves. But on the 9th of January 1838, a heavy snow fell on Hush House. When the other residents dug themselves out, Husher was nowhere to be found. He had left a resignation letter and an undrunk measure of his preparation. Okay, that's the get everything taken care of sound. With keeper level scale, an old moment can lead to an earthquake name. So we did give up quite a bit to get that old moment. I'll maybe put the other memories down just in case I get any ideas. Still enjoying our pie. Down to the Grussians. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. So, with the memory, with the whist, with the drink, we now have 10 winter for Mr. Kill. That will allow us to open up the stopped clock. With maniacal but methodical care, someone has disassembled the clock and scattered it around the room. Wheels and parts have been piled and lent on every surface, and a W has been marked on the stairs in soot. Better now. Okay, so we want that Fost back as soon as possible. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. And lost packages. The label is smeared to an unreadable fog. Let's get the resurgences and emergences improved. This is definitely the more difficult of the two. Whoa! Oh, okay. I was like, I did not think it would take that much. So again, the presence of the old moment has kind of messed this up, but the reason for using the clouds in this particular case would be because I know that I'm going to lose that no matter what. And likewise, preserving the impulse was one that I wanted. One, because it would be useful for Inks of Revelation, but two, because it was one that conceivably I could take, you know, through the night. Although the old moment is clearly the better candidate for that, because we'll be using that with the Miner on the next day. It does also give Lantern, so I could be an idiot and use it with Inks of Revelation, but that would not be a wise choice. I believe we're also quite good in terms of some books that we can read, but I'm much more reluctant to do so now simply because we have so many of the other ones to deal with. So I've got 2 more resurgences and emergences to take care of on top of the Inks of Revelation now. So this is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. So we'll think about how we can improve that. We may even wind up dedicating more of the day towards improving that. We'll wait until the sun goes down and then we will rest on our old moment. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. So we'll take a look at the new area in just a moment. We do want to make sure that we get our Inks of Revelation back, and ideally that we get it back before we lose the Fost to the next day. Okay, the Tower Clock. George Collars, governor of Brankrug Jail, oversaw the design and installation of this great clock, with the reluctant help of the librarian Serena Blackwood. She might have refused outright had she known how he intended to reuse the horologist's techniques for his so-called condignator. An inscription on the greatest wheel reads, "Strike the hours." So inside this room, there's not too much going on. We've got a lovely feathered friend over here. We've got the Umbrus Oil, Cater and Heroes first grade Umbrus Oil, Forge and Moon aspect. It's also a liquid. but we have the great clock itself. Every flame has its fuel, and every tick has its talk. So this can use Forge, Knock, Sky, and Winter. It will accept elements of the soul and omens, and it will also accept memories. It's unlocked the fallen bells. Someone has smashed the headstalks of the bells so that they fell to the floor here. The stone is cracked beneath them. The noise must have been unbearable. One has fallen against the stairs to the tower top. So this would require Forge, Heart, or Sky. This is considerably more difficult than some of the other tasks. However, I do have a metal to help me out, so this may be one that Denzel can give us a hand with. But again, the focus had been on Winter for a while, just simply because we had Solomon's preparation. And with that in mind, I'll focus a little bit more on the things that I can do, and particularly the time-sensitive things that I can do fairly simply. So that means, being able to use the miner to kind of burrow underneath as far as reasonable, right? I don't want to always give up my fairly valuable lignum vitae blank. Okay, we got the level up in time. And there we go, and we have an offer from Oriflammes. Oriflammes established 1776, Sense, Signs, Sciences. Dear librarian, we would like to offer you this opportunity to purchase. It's a 10 winter text, the White Book of Brittany. Now this is one that I haven't seen in any of my playthroughs, so it's very tempting, up to that 4 tally price. So we don't even have the option, although I probably wouldn't take it just because I have been trying to acquire languages for the last little while. So let's think about the day's plans, because I think I'm going to have quite a few demands on my various resources. So if I recall correctly, I was going to need the mackerel. So we have the miner, health, the old moment, Strathcoin's whiskey, and a mackerel. And then, of course, we will actually need to pay for the miner as well. So let's start by using the florin. Assistance from a miner. In spring, the local miners travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale, forge, and a little moon. Alternatively, add a soul card to find any rarer guests who might be seeking employment. So with the miner, we'll definitely need the health. We've already got the memory that we require. So really, we really only need the one. We really only need the one element of the soul to be able to get what we need. Now, we've got two different areas currently that require scale. So it would be good if I could make another. If I could make another old moment. I probably should have spent a bit more time thinking about how I could do that. So I think it was Coil and Chasm. Yeah, let me just make a quick note here about... So... Coil and Chasm is 4. So I need 10 with a memory. So one input, of course, is the earth sign. So we could get that up to 6. 7 if I use the health. Now the real shame about this would be yeah, I'm probably going to wind up using the lignum vitae again, which suggests to me that probably I should head out to the moor. Now, did I take a look into what I could do with Forge? So if we bring Denzel, Metal, and foresight tea and a tool, I can get 9 forge. But we're looking for 11, so let me think a little bit more carefully about that. So we bring Denzel, metal, foresight. The tea adds 2, the tool adds 1. And I don't think there's any forge food, if I recall correctly. So... stronger memories would be best. I believe Denzel will accept metals, but metals are actually quite hard to come by. Yeah, I think I maybe just want to put some effort into finding something a little stronger to use with him. So the main focus of my efforts today are going to be on my upgrades. So Resurgences and Emergences is definitely the most difficult for me to upgrade now. There is something of an argument to be made that I should bring in Mrs. Kill again, because, you know, she's a good source of memories. In fact, the more I think of that, the more I like that as an idea. So let's bring her in, speak with Mrs. Kill. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. If you don't choose a topic, Mrs. Kill will offer help as a friend. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. And what would the next task be? So let's try and be a little more thoughtful than before about how I level things up. So I guess the first thing that I could do here would be to focus on Resurgences and Emergences, because any surplus can just go right back into leveling it up again. So for that, we'll say the Tryst, the Fete, the Core, and the Shapt can go into that. Now we need 3 memories for Inks of Revelation. Oh, and then of course we would need the Arab set aside as well. Okay, that's actually all of my elements of the soul spoken for today. Assuming, of course, that we don't get anything from Mrs. Kill, which is probably not a good guess. And the nice thing about this actually is that because I can sort of keep cycling things through, I can actually save all these elements of the soul for the end of the day. So, yeah, I don't know how much of this plan I'm going to get done today. Ooh, and that helps me out with the Resurgences and Emergences, so I've already got 1 element of the soul to apply to it. Miner's assistants. Thus, they more or less ruled themselves with the help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the Tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human, but it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characteristics could stand comparison with the best of men. I'll rustle Muirhead. Okay, let's get to work with the miner's assistants. So we will talk with them about health first. I'm ready to lend my limbs. Boosts heart scale and nectar. Now the silly thing about Mrs. Kill here was that I could have just kept talking with the miner. I didn't quite think that through at the time, but that's fine because we can boost up the miner quite quickly, and then we can get the benefits of unlocking things in addition to talking with the skill. I don't think we're actually going to find anything in here that I absolutely need to work on right away, but it's a nice change of pace to how I normally do things. And I think probably I can afford a couple of boosts. So this was Beguiling Melodies and Cheerful Ditties. We want a Beguiling Melody, so we will start with the Wind's Ruin. For that, let's do the Fete first. That won't work. And that's just because I know that I'm never going to get this from a conversation with Mrs. Kill. Another example of that would be what? Well, technically an earth sign, but we're not worried about that. Salt might help. No, salt doesn't have Grail or Moth. I think that actually might be it. So technically a confounding parable would be one that Mrs. Kill can't get me, but I don't have... again, there's just nothing that... Oh, this is interesting. I thought this was my impulse shelf. Oh, of course. Because it's the whole impulse shelf. Okay, yeah, we'll just leave that be. And I know we're at the end of our time together, but I will at least pick up the memory. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. So that sets us up well for Tuesday. Oh, sorry, Tuesday. What am I saying? Wednesday's broadcast. So we're in good shape as far as getting everything we want level up wise done. I am a little concerned about my ability to get the miners to unlock all of the different places I want them to. So we had 2. Remembering that we need a combination of an old moment and the mackerel. Now, we also have the pickled pilchard, so we actually have quite a few different items that, you know, we can apply. But given the fact that right now all of my elements of the soul are spoken for, on top of the fact that I want to open up the lost packages, the question about whether or not I'm going to be earning the things that I need to sort of maintain the pace at which I've been going, that's a little bit up in the air. In fact, particularly if you think about the need for the lignum vitae, I believe we only have one more of those, which is the one we found originally in the what's it called? The entrance hall. So it would be good for me to try and find another one. But again, we'll handle all of that in a future episode. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all Wednesday. Take care.